And hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. My name is Yani. I work for Beijing International Book Fair, and it's very honored to be here to give you a brief introduction of the Chinese publishing market, the retail market, as well as how the Beijing International Book Fair can help you to enter this market and start a business with Chinese publishers. Before my presentation, just a few words about where I come from and what I do. Beijing International Book Fair was started from 1986. So this year is the 30th anniversary for the Beijing International Book Fair. The fair was organized by China National Publications Import and Export Group Corporation, also called CNPIEC, that's a short term. And we are the largest publication import and export company in China with over 60% of the market share. If you go to our stand, you will get to know more about our company's business. We do physical books import and export. We do digital content platform. We do print-on-demand services, and also Beijing International Book Fair are all our main business. Here are the topics today. First, I will talk about a general overview of the Chinese market to help you understand how big the market is. And after that, I'm going to give you some data about the retail market, book retail market in China in 2015. And after that is a few words about the publishing industry, because the publishing industry system is quite different from the Western ones. So in order to help you get into the market, you need to know some tips of the publishing industry. And fourth is the translation rights. So what kind of translation titles are sold in China? And what are the popular translation titles in China? And after that, the Beijing International Book Fair. First, let's look at this slice. The Chinese population, we have 1.3 billion people. And China is the second largest publishing market in the world. So among the 1.3 billion people, 47% of them are aged between 25 to 54. They are also the main consumer for book products. And I don't know if you know that China just ended the one-child policy at the very beginning of this year. So now every family allowed to have the second child. It's estimated that with the introduction of the new policy, 3 to 8 million extra babies will be born each year. We have already seen the rise of the picture books in China. It's quite popular. It's quite popular in China, so we are going to see more growth in this area. And also the books about how to deal with your siblings. It will be a very new challenge to the family, so that kind of topic will be very interested and welcome in China. And now each family, the average family will spend 300 to 8,000 US dollars for their family, for their children's for their children, and its education ranked the second among all the things they paid for their children, right after the food. So they spend a lot of money for their children, for their education, for their books. The population is increasing, also more and more people are moving into the cities for better lives, for jobs with higher education. Yes, and the new urban middle class in China has fully embraced consumerism. So this is the picture I took on my way to work in one of the subway stations in Beijing. This is how you live with another 20 million people in Beijing. China also adjusts a digital technology at a very fast pace from looking through the digital population. So 95% of Chinese people own a cell phone, 37% own a smartphone, which allow them to read ebooks on, and 69% of people aged between 18 to 29 own a smartphone. So this is a very typical picture on the subway station. People use their cell phones to read books, to chat with friends, to watch videos. You can do everything with your cell phone. And cell phone is the most used devices for ebooks readings in China than the other types of reading devices. Before I go into the details of publishing industry, here I want to show you how the retail market's doing in 2015. In 2015, there were 197,000 new titles were published in China. The number is almost the same as Britain's. I think Britain is 200,000 titles, new titles a year. And the total book sales was 62.4 billion yuan. That is approximately 960 million US dollars, including both physical stores and online bookstores. So altogether, the book sales increased 12.8% than the previous year. And the physical stores and online stores both grew, and the physical stores contribute 63% of the sales, and online bookstores contribute 37%. The physical store sales was 34.4 billion yuan, approximately 531 million US dollars. And also the strongest growth happened in the first-tier cities in 2015, like Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, where they lost their business to the online bookstores in previous years. So they are developing very fast, and also some privately owned bookstores. They were developing very fast, so people more see them as the kind of the concept of culture. So they are not only selling books, they are selling concepts. They have the reading groups, they have the reading clubs, and they promote reading. So there are many cultural events happening in that kind of independently owned public bookstores. And for the online stores, over the past few years, as the commercial marketing of book retail has gradually matured, and online booksellers has risen in phenomenon in China. In 2015, online bookstores revenue amounted 28 billion yuan, approximately 431 million US dollars, achieved a 33% of increase compared with the previous years. And the online purchasing is developing incredibly fast in China. People can buy everything online. I can order my Starbucks on my cell phone in my office, and have it delivered to my office just in 30 minutes. It's very convenient. And for online retailers, the book sales has been growing since 2010. So just within this 4 or 5 or 6 years, the number starts from 77 million US dollars in 2010 to 431 million US dollars for this year. For last year. As we mentioned online bookstores, then there are 3 major online retailers you should know. They are Dangdang.com, JD.com, and Amazon China. All 3 together represent 78% of all online book sales. So Dangdang was the earliest book e-retailers, and it's now expanded to other fields, but it still have the majority of the market share for online book sales. And JD.com was initially a B2C platform for selling e-products, but JD.com entered the book market in 2010, and in the last year it has seen 60% of the increase of the JD.com's book sales. And it's also JD also have the self-publishing program. And Amazon China is the only one in China have its own reading devices. The Kindle entered the Chinese market in 2012. Besides the so now let's look at the number of the ebooks. The number of ebook titles increased from 900,000 in 2011 to 1.6 million in 2014, increased 77.8% increase over 3 years. So the sales revenue of ebooks in 2014 is 4.5 billion yuan. That's about $690 million US dollars, because the data is kind of old, because the latest data for 2015 is about to release recently. So besides the big three, online book retailer I just mentioned have their ebooks. They all have their ebooks. Apart from them, the three telecommunication companies all have their ebook platform. So with the telecommunication companies, you don't have to use your credit card to purchase the ebook. You can buy by chapter, and the money you spend on the ebooks will go directly to your monthly phone bills. So it's very convenient. I think the reason why Chinese people tend to use their smartphones to read ebooks is because we have the reading habits. So from the 77% of the mobile devices, the readers using mobile devices, 54.4 of them are mobile phone users. But let's look at here. The Kindle readers only takes up 5.5%. Let's just look at JD.com as an example. In 2015, they have 270,000 Chinese ebook titles available and 30,000 original language titles available on their platform. In 2015, JD.com sold 55 million copies of books, achieved 84% of increase than the previous years. And the ebook altogether account for 20% of all JD.com book sales. And after that, I'm going to give you some introduction of publishing industry in China. It's kind of different than the Western system. The managing body for Chinese publication industry is State Administration of Press, Publications, Radio, Film, and Television. Is responsible for copyrights protection, ISBN, imports, and all other regulations for the publishing industry. And in China, we have 583 authorized state-owned publishing companies or publishing houses and corporations, of which over 200 of them are based in Beijing. That's about 40% of them are based in Beijing. And each province has their provincial publishing group, which includes publishers of all subjects in this province. And I also want to mention that we have the private publishers. They are becoming very strong force in Chinese publishing industry. They act as the third-party packager for the state-owned publishers. So, for example, the Harry Potter and Secret Garden, the adult coloring book, they all have the private publishing companies' involvement. So they have the people to dealing with the rights. So they have their own distribution channels and promotional team. So they are quite strong in this industry. And then let's look at the rights. The number of foreign rights bought has increased from more than 10,000 titles in 2004 to 16,695 in 2014. Translated titles represent 8% of the total number of new titles published in China, and the translated titles account for 16.32% of the total sales of revenue and 13.8% of the total titles sold in 2014. From this pie chart, we can find the top 3 translated titles are children's book, literature, and culture. Children's title accounted for 32% of the total translated titles in 2015, contributing 35% of the total revenue. So children's book is definitely the hottest subjects in China right now. Here is the number of translation titles we bought from different countries and regions in 2014. 50% of them were bought from UK and the US. Then what are the popular translated titles in China? First, the biographies, like Stephen Jobs' biography, 5 million copies sold since it was published. And the bestsellers like The Kite Runner has been on the bestseller list for the past 9 years. And also the books about new technology developments like the big data, the VR technologies, are quite popular in China. Also, children's books sell very, very well. The Diary of Wimpy Kids have sold 6 million copies. Pippi Longstocking have sold 1 million. Bear Grylls Survival Collection have sold 2 million copies. And the Magical School Bus from Scholastics, which is the bestseller for Dong Dong, and have sold nearly 200,000 copies in one day during a promotional event. So the market is great. So where should you start? There are several ways you can enter this Chinese market. The first is export your physical books to China, but it must go through some certain book import and export companies and sell rights. I think this is most of the international publishers are doing. If you are doing business with China, I think this is the main business you are covering. And also you can form joint ventures with the Chinese publishers like Hachette and Phoenix Publishing and Media Group. They have the joint ventures based in Beijing. And also you can set up local offices like many of the international publishers did in the past few years. Penguin Random House, they established their Beijing representative office like 10 years ago, and it developed very fast. Now, when we talk about how to sell your rights to China, here is a very good examples of how to present your rights. This is the slides from Miss Candice Finn. She's from Porter Mifflin Harcourt, and she sold 150 titles in just in 1 week in Beijing. But they did a lot of work on the preparations of their presentation to Chinese publishers. The first tip is attract with awards. So Chinese publishers might not care much about your new titles, but please go and mine your backlist to find the award titles, even it's international awards or your national awards, because it's a proven success to the Chinese publishers. And mine your backlist. And I think Magical School Bus is quite a good example. It's not a new title. It's from Scholastic maybe 20 years ago. So here are the rankings of the top 10 Chinese groups. The top 5 represent more than 52% of the sales. Take China Publishing Group as an example. CPG has about 22 members, of which 12 of them are publishers. Actually, our company, CNPIEC, is a part of the Chinese Publishing Group. So the chart should be read from bottom. I'm not very good at the technology thing, so it took me a long time to adjust this. And this table shows the market segment share and the top publisher in each segment. We can discover in each catalog who are the strongest 3 publishers and their market share. So now, where can you meet those Chinese publishers I just mentioned? Because each year we brought many of the Chinese publishers to London Book Fair and Frankfurt, but the number is limited. So where can you meet most of the Chinese publishers? That's Beijing International Book Fair, where you can meet more than 90% or 95% of the Chinese publishers. So compared with other international book fairs, BIBFs have some differences. First of all, the organizer is CNPIEC. We are the biggest book import and export company in China. So we purchase exhibitors' books, which means you don't need to ship them back. So our companies will buy you exhibits. And CNPIEC also offered a POD service for exhibitors, books, and catalog. We started doing this from this year. And here are some key data for our fair last year. We have more than 2,000 exhibitors from 82 countries and regions. And during the 5 days show, we accommodated 260,000 visitors. And during these 5 days, more than 4,000 contracts signed. Then who is exhibiting? Like Chinese publishers and international publishers take up like half and half. And among the international exhibitors, half of them are from Asian countries. So if you find it's difficult to find Japanese publishers, Korean publishers, publishers from ASEAN countries, Beijing International Book Fair might be your shortcut to find them all in just one occasion. We also organize many networking sessions and professional forums to help our Chinese publishers and to make the connection to the international publishers. This year, and from last year, we have the Rights Manager Salon, which we have the rights managers from international publishers and the Chinese publishers to get together. And we have 10 plus 10 roundtable meetings and divided into different subjects, children's books, academic books, and trade books. And we have an international publishing forum, International Digital Publishing Forum, which we worked with IDPF for 3 years already, and International Children's Publishers Forum. And also this year, I want to introduce our new 2 programs. Is the training 2 days before the fair. We will take the new exhibitors to visit the Chinese publishing houses and to visit the bookstores and talk with the government to talk about the book import and export regulations. This is the training, and we also will take you around the fairs to go to the Chinese publisher stand and meet the right people. So there are several ways that you can exhibit. You can have your own system stand or package stand with more, you can have your own logo on it, it's customized. And you can have a mini shelf stand for independent publishers. It's not very expensive, about $700 US. You can have a 4 square meter stand, and it's a good way for the new exhibitors to check out this market for the first time. And also you can choose the country organized collectives, which we worked with a Publishers Association for many years, and they will bring British publishers to attend BIBF every year. We also work with a lot of the other organizers around the world for the country collective. Exhibit with a country collect stand is very convenient. They will take care of all the arrangements, and in some countries they have the government fundings. And because their stand is big, so you might have the better location on the book fair. So thank you very much for your time, and I know the market is far more big than you expected. So if I lost any important points, please do ask. Or we can discuss it after that as well. Thank you very much.